Alright, I just realized the microphone wasn't on. So, welcome back everyone. And I was just saying that we're going to pick up where I left off from yesterday and model the low poly versions of some of these assets. But before I do that, I'm going to change the music to something different. Something cinematic. So, yeah, kind of. And as far as assets that are left over to 3D model, just kind of going over everything that's been done. And by the way, if you can't hear me, somebody please tell me in the chat, but I think it's working. It says it is, so I'm going to assume it is. And just 1 second here, I'm just signing in real quick to my chat. And it should be working now. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm just gonna do one quick thing here and hide the display. Just 1 second. All right, good stuff. All right, so before I get started with this character though, I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Dallas, who really went out of his way to do something nice this past week. And I just wanted to share some things about Dallas here. So you guys, if you haven't seen Dallas's work, his work is amazing and definitely check it out. He's was the lead senior artist on The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and the Avatar. And he's just working on really cool stuff. Check out his art station if you haven't checked it out yet. Really cool. And on that note too, if you haven't seen my art station, please consider subscribing to it. And you know, everything I'm sharing today on the live stream is just to build a community and share knowledge. So that said, I'm going to just get into this Stormtrooper. So off of last time, I basically had modeled this piece down here into a low poly version from the high poly version. Looks like this needs to go on the proper layer. So I took, and these were done in ZBrush, these hard surface panels were done in ZBrush. And there's, you know, millions of polygons that go through ZBrush, and then you decimate them, bring them in here, and then it's just too much for the engine to handle. And I'm going to be bringing this to a short film. And so you want to convert those high poly meshes into something that the engine can handle, into low poly meshes here. And if we show the wireframe, this is what it looks like so far. And the body is actually just a standard metahuman, and you can just, go to the MetaHuman site and download Unreal Engine, and you can just pull this into the scene and you can just export it out, and this will give you the exact same male model that I have here. And so the objective is to kind of build a suit that goes around that, because the metahumans are already rigged up and ready to go, and you can and the rigs that are on the metahumans are fantastic, and the deformation that happens, they've done a great job with the metahumans. So it makes sense to build this stuff over over something that's already great, and then just tack it onto that. And as we go down and start working more on this character, you'll see how that happens, how I start to basically rig these pieces to a metahuman. But for now, we're just in the modeling phase. And on that note, let me pull up the reference here. This piece back here on the back end of the character is, pull up my reference here, is this piece right here. And so right now there's one cylinder, but there has to be, it has multiple layers if you look at that reference. So there's the cylinder that's gray is underneath, and then there's kind of a plastic piece that goes over that. And so today we're gonna go and retopo that piece, along with these little clips right here that clip onto the belt. And then also the belt itself needs to be retopoed. And if we look at the high poly mesh, it's really composed of multiple geometry pieces. So it's like basically all this stuff right here. And instead of making a bunch of small pieces that I would model and then and just have multiple pieces, I'm going to build this belt into just one surface and project those details with a normal map and material IDs. So that's done a little bit later after you get the modeling done, but just kind of give you the rundown of what is the game plan for today. Finish the belt and project the pieces, and then finish this here, and anything else that needs to happen, and start working on UVs. So that's pretty much it, and that's what we're going to start doing. So right now, just have to kind of wrap my head around how to tackle this, but I've already done this piece. You can see here's the piece right there, and I like to use patch modeling a lot of times, but in this case, I think it would be simple enough to just really just use Maya's quad draw tool, which if you saw the last live stream, it's not something that I use directly on the first approach a lot of times, but because this is such a simple piece, I mean, we'll have to build in this stuff, but you want to work the parameters or the perimeters of the object, and any kind of accenting pieces on there. So like this is accenting, this is accenting, this is the dominant. So we're gonna work on kind of getting these accenting pieces first, and then we'll work on the dominant. So I can go around and do this, but that's kind of time consuming. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do here is create curves perhaps around there, or maybe even just a circle. Actually, better yet, let's do a cylinder. So I've got a cylinder down here, bring it on up, scale it up. And in the input over here on the right, can designate how many divisions do we want this thing. And, you know, let's see, I'm probably gonna use something like 8 to start out with, or 16. Let's take a look at that. No, I think I'm gonna do 8. So I'm just gonna select all this and then deselect and then select again. I just want to get rid of that stuff. And then I'm gonna select the, double click to select the edge. I'm gonna extrude the edges like that. And then I'm gonna delete that center part. And then I kind of want to think about, you know, this is kind of way out here. It's not at the origin. It's not at 0 on X, Y, and Z. So, you know, basically it would be a lot easier to put it at put this at the origin, but it was going to throw off the location of where it's at. So you can always just keep your, when you bring this to 0, so I'll go up to here and enter 0 basically in all the coordinates, and that will bring it down to the 0 coordinate. And I'll do the same thing with this, and that way it's at 0 and I can work at it a little easier down here. And if I show, I go to show and grid, you can see the grid. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this up, and I'm trying to just create a ring around that instead of just like doing it by hand and doing a really slow process. I'm going to just kind of get this thing, and it's, you know, it's going to be perfectly circular. So that's great. And then here, I'm gonna select all the vertices, and then I'm gonna hit D and to move my pivot, and then with my left mouse click here so I'm aligning the manipulator with the, you know, the direction of the surface. And then I'm gonna go up to tools and make sure closest, so it's usually on along normals. I'm gonna make sure closest point is selected. And then I'm going to move this a little bit and then just nudge this down. But, you know, I forgot one thing. You have to make this live, this main piece, because we want to snap it to that. That's what we're trying to do. So snap just like that. So now this piece is right around there, and I can move those around. Should be able to. Just 1 second here. So I should be able to move these things around like this, and kind of just move these points. All right, and then move this. I'm just trying to create a perimeter around this piece here. And see how it's kind of going through here, and what's happening is there's thickness with this piece here that I did in ZBrush, and what it's doing is it's actually snapping to the bottom part, and it gets stuck like this, so you can't really grab it. It's really annoying. So you can just hold down the Control and Shift button and just blow that out of there, and then hold Shift to bridge again, but that didn't work. So just do, sometimes that works, Sometimes you just have to move things around. But something like that. It might need more geometry, but I'm trying to keep it as low poly as possible, basically. I don't really think that I need to do a bunch of these details right here. I think I can just do a general kind of shape right there. Like the overall shape, like this rectangular shape, instead of getting all these little details. So it's making it kind of tricky to retopo this thing because there's thickness down there. And I'm tempted to just kind of blow that away. I might just do that actually, just because it's creating problems, but it's sticking through. So I'm just going to take a second and go into a orthographic side view here, hide everything else. And I'm going to try to use my lasso tool to just select everything. We'll see how well that works. But I'm going to right click and get in face mode. And then I'm going to just kind of go through and just select some of this stuff and blow it away because it's just causing problems. But I want to be, aware that I'm not like blowing away any of this other stuff. So I'm going to turn off the selection here. Okay. And I mean, you don't have to do this, but sometimes it's necessary when you get all that geometry just sticking like that. And frankly, like if you create polygroups in ZBrush and just bring it in with polygroups in here, that's a way of handling it too. But that's also more work in ZBrush. So sometimes you just don't know if you have to do that or not. Make sure I'm not blowing away anything else. Okay, cool. I have a script that can select the edges, and I don't think that's going to work, but I'm going to try it. So I have my piece selected, and I'm going to go to edges, and no, it didn't work. So you can kind of see it's trying to select the edges, and then if that worked, I could use the separate tool, but no, I just got to go through this lasso. Just kind of blow that away. And I'm not using my Cintiq right now, I'm just using my mouse. So it's probably going to be easier with the Cintiq. What's happening over here? Oh, okay. It's fine. Just getting some sort of... delete that. There we go. All right, in theory, this should be better. And actually, if I just want to make sure that I didn't lose my, yeah, okay, good. I think this should be better. So I'm going to go back, and right now you don't see that it's selected, but it is. And what I've done is I've gone to show and hit this selection highlighting. And because it's such a high density, sometimes it's annoying to see. So you can go to show, select selection highlighting, but just know that, if you don't see it selected, sometimes you forget. Just be sure to check that. So I'm going to make this live, go up to the magnet, and then I'm going to show last hidden, which is right here, this piece. And I'm going to go back to my quad draw, and hopefully it should be easier to move around. I think it is. Yeah. A little easier. All right, so there's that, and we can just start kind of placing the perimeters here. I'm just going to add an extra section. I'm not really worried about how many polygons I'm going to have to lay out here right now. I'm just kind of laying out the borders of things that are important. And if you hold tab and left mouse, you get this green. So tab and left mouse, you can pull out another edge like that. So, and then holding Control and Shift, I can left click and delete that. Maya has a ton of buttons and everything, but once you get them all down, it's not too bad. So I'm just gonna work on getting this to go around, and I'm just gonna kind of squish this up here for now. Bring this over here, and you'll notice over here on the right I have auto weld on, so that means if there's a vertex here, it will merge it together. But if there's not, it won't. So just was careful when I move that. And I'm just gonna go down the line here. You can also use Topo Gun or whatever program you want to do this, but I like to use Quadra a lot. So I'm just left clicking and placing points, and I hold Shift, and then it gives me that green selection, and I can just choose that. I'm gonna put these together. So there we go. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double click. I'm gonna actually just weld these together real quick. So take those points, merge them together, those points together, same thing here. I'm gonna try to simplify this thing as much as possible. And now I'm gonna select all those edges by double clicking. I'm gonna go to this is my shelf, and I have a lot of shelf tools that I've just placed there. It's, these buttons are up here in the menus, but this is the fill hole, so I'm just going to select that, and now it's filled it with this ingon, which an ingon is more than 5-sided square, and so we've got this ingon. I'm going to go ahead and take this extrude, and I'm going to extrude it out, but I'm going to show this, and then I'm going to extrude it out like that, and I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. That. So now if we show the quad draw stuff, if I move things around, it will snap. So if I start putting vertices in here, it will start snapping to that. But right now it's not. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and use the cut tool and just cut this area right here. The cut tool is right up here. And again, you can find all these in the menu. I think the menu is, let's see, multi-cut right here. So yeah, and then you'll see me like making this thing live and then not making it live. And so I just entered that. So now I can, if I press Control and then slide my mouse without clicking anything, I get this this subdivision, and so I can figure out how many I want here, but I think I'll just put one in right now, and maybe I'll just put a few more in. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. So something like that. And I'm not too worried if it looks a little bumpy or messy right now. I'm just trying to, when you project this, you're not going to see all these, you're going to see a little bit of surface change that you'll see in the silhouette. So, like at this angle, you see a little bit of a silhouette of a surface change. And that's really all this is doing. But the normal map will take care of the illusion of depth. So I'm just going to snap these two pieces together, like that. All right. And then I just kind of got to figure out what I need to do with this. I think actually I'll just go ahead and start adding some more subdivisions here. And I can always take them out if I don't want them, but I just want to add one there, and always trying to figure out what to do here. So just trying to keep as many triangles out of this as possible. But because this object does not deform, it's okay if there's, you know, some triangles, but you just kind of want to avoid it if you can. Actually, just gonna delete that, and then I'll actually keep it and then go like this. There we go. And I can enter an extra division if I want, but I may end up just merging this over here somewhere, but so trying to keep this thing low poly as much as possible. It's kind of just a weird object and shape. Yeah, and I may delete this, we'll see. But this needs more subdivision stuff. It's kind of poking through here. But I might smooth this thing out and keep it really low res. And then it will take care of another, then it will subdivide double of what the low res is. If you didn't get a chance to look at my stream yesterday, I go over some really cool techniques for doing patch modeling on an object. Hold tab and just kind of bring those out. Okay, getting pretty close to being to a point where I'm gonna snap this thing and kind of smooth it out. So I'm just getting out of quad draw mode, and then I'm gonna select all these points, and then I'm gonna make sure that my manipulator is where I need it to be, reset everything up there, and then I'm gonna pull these down with live mode on. So now they're snapped to the bottom of that. I'm gonna do the same thing here. And I'm just trying not to, you know, select things that shouldn't be selected. So get this, trying to do that. Just kind of see where we're at once I do that. See what needs to be fixed. So I'll turn quad draw back on. I mean, this is okay. I mean, I could take this and then smooth it out once, and you know, you get this, which is, it's okay actually, but I need to make sure there's no ingons or anything in there, which I don't think there is. looking through here. I don't really see any n-gons, but it's kind of messy, to be honest. I usually try to get these things pretty clean, so I'm going to reverse that and try to... This is a method I shared yesterday, and you can basically take an edge of something. So like let's say I knew that I wanted let's see what there is. There's 10 edges here. So I would first make sure that there's no n-gons or anything like that. And it doesn't look like there is. So there's one triangle here, which I could just quickly do this, but I think that's fine. So selecting this edge and then going to, I like to bring out a lot of panels, and I'm going to bring out the convert panel, and then I'm going to go to create and get the curves panel here, and that should start us off. But first I'm going to go to the convert and go to polygon edges to curves, and then another panel I like to get out is the display NURBS, and then take the NURBS display panel out. So I'm going to show the CVs, and you can see how uneven they are. So you know, we're trying to make the geometry kind of equilateral. It for the most we can, because we can take this thing, we can grab the quad draw tool, like this, and I can get my brush here, and I can start smoothing this thing out. I can do that, but notice the edges stay where they're at, and I'm kind of just, everything's going everywhere, and so I want to kind of try to keep that controlled a little bit. And so this method will get the edges right, and then everything else follows that. So you take this edge, and then I'm going to go to curves, and I'm going to go to rebuild, and I want to in my channel box here, I'm going to press Control A for my channel box, and then one more time, and I can see that this is a 10 span curve. I want it to be a 10 span curve. We already said that was 10 edges, so it's a 1 degree. And so what we can do is take this rebuild, and we can say 10 and 1 degree linear and rebuild. And so now, let me just show last. Height selection. So now everything is exactly equal. And I can take this, I'm going to center it, and then I'm going to just duplicate it with a Control D and bring this out. And then I'm going to go to my surfaces, loft. And so now I've got this surface, which I can just go to surfaces reverse direction, so the normal is the correct direction. And then from here you can go to NURBS to polygons, and it's going to give you this. So you can go here, oops, select the NURBS thing and hide that, and then I'm going to select the polygons, and I'm going to go to input. I'm going to choose general and quads, and then I want to tell it has to be 10, 10 edges basically, right? So it's under the U, and I think this is like 1, I always forget, yeah, so it's 1 more than the number. So now this is exactly 10. So this is basically everything spaced out right where we need it. Show last hidden. You just select everything. Show all. Okay. Unselected. All right, and then make sure I've got the right one. I'm going to delete the NURBS there. Put this back. And then now, all I need to do is take these pieces of geometry here, these quads, go ahead and blow them away. But you can delete them all like this, or you can come through and you can just add an extra subdivision like that, and then go ahead and select, and then now this edge here is where we want it to be. And so I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to combine them, and then take these, and bridge. And so now if I go and I just you can take this edge here, and you can go to select, convert selection, vertices. I'm going to press the gosh, I think it's control. Let me just see what it is. I always forget. It's like, let's see here. Press control. There we go. Control shift and then less than arrow. And so now it's just selecting. It basically reduces the selection by 1. And so I'm going to hold shift and then right click, and then I'm going to average the vertices. So like this is right where we want it to be, like at the edge of that piece. And then they're all equal, and everything in between can be smoothed out. So this is just one way. I mean, it's kind of, you don't have to do this, but it will help it helps with UVs. It can help with modeling down the line. There's just a lot of reasons why you want things very nice and equal. But once you're done with this, you can just get rid of it. And just get rid of this stuff. And then, it's just kind of a little bit of a helper, getting things exactly where they need to be. And then you can, come through, and you can do the same thing with the edge if you want, and you get everything right where it should be. But for this particular situation, I'm just going to go through and start moving some of these points, and then I'm going to press B and just kind of get a bigger selection, smooth things out. And I'm trying to avoid ruining this selection. Let me hide this. So I'm trying to keep this edge where it's at. So you can take all these edges and then separate them, which basically it takes all the vertices and separates them. So if I separate the objects, you can see there's 2 objects. And now I'm just going to select this, and then I'm going to get my smooth brush and see everything go where it should be. And just like that, it's nice. And sometimes you'll see these points move. It doesn't always move, but sometimes they will. So just try to clean that up a little bit, as much as possible. And see, like this needs to kind of move around over here. Can just kind of things. Nice clean topology. For this, there's not a lot of edges, but just kind of sharing some techniques if like you need to get really good topology and you need equal spacing for whatever project you're working on. This is a really good technique. I'm not going to move this actually because it has to line up with this piece here. So now that that's done, I'm going to select this and this. I'm going to bring them back together. And then this. And we press 3 on the keyboard and smooth it. It looks nice and clean. That. And then I'm going to select these pieces in here and snap them to the surface here, like that. So now they're actually really very vaguely conforming to those bumps. But see, there is some surface, there is some silhouette change when you look at it from the side, and that's, you know, that's what you want to see when you're kind of looking at the character from a different angle. So going back here, start finishing this part up. And then I'll just try to so these are triangles right now, but when I smooth them, they'll turn to quads. So so right now, this is what you see. We smooth it, they all turn to quads. So then I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to go one. It's a shift less than key, one in, and snap. So there it is. So now, I mean, this piece is basically done. So we just need to add some UVs to it. So I'm going to take my UV editor here. And I always like to do a camera projection just to start things off. And because this is just so simple, it's just one surface really, it's super easy. We just have to take this and then unfold it like that, and then arrange it down here at layout. Can take my manipulator and kind of just give it a little bit better. The UVs, like the placement of the UVs, I said this yesterday, they don't really matter now because I'm just trying to test this to make sure everything looks good. And so I'm going to bring this into Marmoset right now to make sure that it's projecting the high to the low properly. Okay, so got that. And let's bring back the high res. Seems good. So another thing is that the high res, if you remember, is like all the way down here at the 0, at the origin. And we had to zero it out to bring it down to here. So I want to bring it back up. So I'm going to zero the translations out over here on the right. But if I do that, then, you know, this other piece, it's at 0 and it can't go along. So we need to parent that to, we need to parent the low res to the high res. So I'm going to take the, take the high res and then the low res and then press P. There we go. So high res and low res, and press P, and it should go along for the ride. Just undo that real quick. I think I got it reverse. So the low, it's hard to select. So I'm there. P. There we go. There we go. So it was the low res then the high res. So I'm going to zero this out. And just want to give a shout out to Peter Ford. Glad you love the music and appreciate the shout out. So we just zeroed that out, and now it's right back where it should be. And now we'll bring, I'm going to blow out the translations with the low res, but I'm going to unparent this real quick, hide everything, and then, so I pressed shift, so I selected everything, I pressed shift and P, and that unparented the low res. So now it has its own translations that are not at 0. So we're going to freeze those translations. So now everything is where it should be, and we're going to bring in the low res and the high res to marmoset and bake it. So just 1 second, I'll go ahead and pull up my marmoset quick here, and just give me a second. So I've got to export this out real quick. All right. So now in marmoset, you guys should see marmoset. Oh, there we go. All right. I just need to figure out where the heck is there it is, my piece here. So here's the high res and the low res pieces. And I just need to get a baker real quick here in marmoset. And I'm going to bring in the low res asset, plop it in the low, and then the high res, plop it in the high. Go to the baker. Just need to make sure that the normal is saved out. So I'm going to go to these 3 dots here, and you can't see it, but I'm saving it to my desktop, just calling it asset. So now it's saved to the desktop. And another thing I'm going to do is once you get a baker and you have your high and low categories, groups, it immediately hides the high res. So if you toggle this on, you can see it again. But because we're only going to be baking on the low res, it just hides it and pulls it from the hidden layer. But it created, when we brought all these things in, it created all these materials. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these materials. Just don't need them. Oh shit, I just deleted the model. There we go, not that. So get this and this, there we go. So now we got the model, and we're just going to go to the baker, make sure select bake project, and then I'm going to make this 4K, and then I'm going to hit bake. And you don't see anything happen because you have to go to here to surface and make sure that the proper material is on your low res, and then you got to select the surface button there, and then you can't see it, but I'm choosing the PSD, and there it is. Looks great. Looks just like the high res part. But I am seeing a little bit of clipping perhaps right here. So what you can do is adjust the cage. So go here, and I'm going to hide this cage real quick, but it's still working. And I'm going to choose this max offset, and I'm going to just push it out a little bit, see if that helps, and it does. All right, and then I'm going to rebake. I'm going to rebake, and now it's perfect. So that's great. That part is done, and we've got, you can kind of see from this angle, like there's silhouette stuff happening. It's not super faceted. It's enough geometry where it looks decent from an angle, but we're not going to be really close likely with the camera to this part. So from a distance, it looks great, and it looks just like the high res. So I know that part's done, and there's really not much for me to do in Maya with this part, so I can move on with the belt. So at this point, I know that's good, and it's just another thing that I need to just plop into the finished group. So let's go back to Maya. Just 1 second here. All right, so that's done. And I'm gonna go ahead and hide this high res. I'm gonna give, I always give a bright color. So in this case, I've named it Retopoed, and it's a purple color. So if I show the last, if I show the high res, you can see it poking through, and that's the point, is like, you should be able to see the low res kind of poking through in areas. It's kind of, should be a kind of a midpoint of the high and the low, basically poking through. So yeah, so that's done. And then this part, I didn't do this side, and that's just because this is symmetrical, and I'll just mirror that over. But now what's not symmetrical is the belt. There are 2 pieces to the belt, and then these small little rivets here. So that's what the belt looks like. If I hide that, you can see it's poking through. I'm not really worried about it poking through because it's hidden behind that little, you know, backpack thing or whatever thing, and it's, nobody's ever gonna take that off and see that. So a little bit of penetration isn't a big deal in my mind. This seems like an easy project, or an easy thing to do. And you could just do quad draw, I guess, on here, but I'm gonna use curves to do this, which I think will just be faster. So I'm gonna just make this thing live, and then I'm gonna use the CV curve tool and make sure it's on the 3D or 3 cubic. And then I'm just gonna work my way down the line, and basically try to stay on the edge of this thing. I don't want it I don't want my point like up here, because it's starting to go into this surface. So I want to kind of keep it down here. Otherwise it's hard to select the points with quad draw. And because this thing is pretty angular, I'm going to put a little bit more points than just like, you know, spreading this thing way out. So yeah, and honestly, it might be a little easier to add. I'm just gonna take this thing and hide it, delete that. And sometimes it's easier to add a shiny material so you can just kind of see where those highlights are happening. I'm gonna go to show, selection highlighting, just make sure that's unchecked. And then go to the specular roll off and just kind of bump that up and bump up the specular color. So now I can see where that highlight is, and just kind of bump that down. All right, so I think that's good. And then now I'm going to take the curves and try to follow that line. Oh, and I got to make this thing live. All right, so here we go. That's a little too high on that one. It's not going to be the end of the world if it's not showing. And you know what? Is this thing? Oh yeah. Okay, we're good. Actually going to extend it to right there. I have no idea how many points that is, but I can tell you exactly how many points it is. If I select it and then I go to here, I can say it's 20 span. It's a 20 span curve. And I'm going to turn on, I'm going to select it and turn on my CV so I can see where the heck those things are. And, you know, 20 is pretty good actually. It's not bad. I think I'll try to do that with I'll try to keep that as the number on the bottom too. So, but these are not equal points, so I'm going to go to curve, rebuild, make it 20, and make sure it's cubic. And there we go. Like that. All right. And next thing is the bottom. And same thing. And then I'm going to use a tool that is available to everyone from a very amazing artist. And I'll tell you about in a second, to try to close this thing up with curves. All right. So we got that. It's 15 spans, a lot less. So I'm going to rebuild to 20. There it is. And sometimes you might need to move these out a little bit. Let's see here. Where is that one? Kind of lost it. And kind of snap it on the top there. Because you kind of, sometimes you kind of lose them. All right, this one I think I'm kind of losing there too. All right, good enough. I think, you know, we'll see. So there is a tool, and I shared this with the last live stream. There's a tool that you just Google this artist's name, or the name of the tool. It's a Marvelous Designer Retopo tool, and you should find this artist's name. And he created this tool, which is basically for retopoing, streamlining the retopo process of Marvelous Designer garments. And it's a really great tool. You should definitely use it. But it also is good for using some of the, some of the buttons in here that are just really quick to get instead of going through the menu or creating a shelf. So I highly recommend that you use this script. And anyway, what I'm going to try to use it for is to close this thing up and use it as a buy rail. In fact, show less hidden. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is take these two pieces and I'm going to take an EP curve, which is just point A and point B basically. Hold C on my keyboard, and then as I'm holding C, snap to that rail, and then snap to that rail. Cool. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to hit G to repeat the process, and C, and C. That. And then I want more spans than just one, so at least 4. So I'm gonna go to rebuild and let's see what 4 looks like. And I want to show the CVs. Might do more than that. Might do 6. I think that's good. Same thing here. That. And then I'm gonna use the buy rail feature on here, and sometimes it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of finicky. This thing will create a group, and if you kind of watch over here, a new group will be, it's gonna be actually maybe one of these groups. So we'll see here. I'm gonna select these two and this. Hit 4. No, it's not gonna let me. So I'm gonna put this in this group here. Show the group. Let's see if it'll let me. Did it let me? Yeah, the tool is kind of finicky. But let me just do this. Oh, okay. So it did create it. Okay, it's hidden. So the tool created, it did a bi-rail. Yeah, it's a little finicky, but basically this thing, when you create border curves, it creates a group called curve group, and then it spits out this NURBS surface here. That's a NURBS surface. There's two of them right now, so I'm going to get rid of one. And you can reverse the direction. And then I'm going to convert it to polygons. And now we're no longer dealing with NURBS. This is polygons. And just like that, we have this beautiful, totally equilateral geometry. And it's perfect. So I'm going to get rid of these extra loops. And look at that beautiful, nice, even geometry. So show the belt here. I'm going to center my pivot and just kind of pull this out for a second. And I want to make sure there's kind of nothing under there still. Let's get rid of this stuff. Bring this back. All right. Interesting. I think this belt, before I do that, I think the belt was not, so I'm noticing that in the translations here, they're not zeroed out. And so I need to do that now before I move it. Because otherwise, when I try to put it back, it won't be where it needs to be. So there it goes, back to where it is. It should be. And put this where it should be. Make this thing live. Select these verts. And just like that, I've got all the verts selected. And then I'm going to hold shift and less than arrow. And then I'm going to just try to get this manipulator right over here. Press D and then left click that. And then snap on there. And you'll see it move. There it goes. Just like that. Beautiful. So now I have that belt pretty much done. It's got the, it's got thickness, so I guess we'll just extrude this out. But it's pretty good. Let me go ahead and smooth this thing out a little bit. Alright, so just kind of smooth this thing out. Look at that beautiful geometry, just so quickly. It seems like a little bit of work doing those NURBS curves, but it's worth it. I mean, trying to do this by hand, you have to move every point, and just like that. So patch modeling is where it's at. Now this is off, so I'm going to use the brush tool with B on the keyboard, B, and then holding down B and left mouse, I'm going to make it bigger, so it's kind of grabs more surface area. Just kind of nudge this thing into place. Just kind of do that. And that. And so that looks pretty good. There is this kind of radius happening here, which I'm kind of thinking I might need to divide this thing a little bit, because it's a pretty big radius, but I don't know if I want to do, add a bunch more geometry. So I'm going to try to just build that in right here and see if I can make that work. So I'm going to hide the selected there. And actually I'm going to go into quad draw and then show that piece. And use my multi-cut. Just kind of try to figure this thing out. So ideally, something a little bit of a curve. You know, I think this will be fine. Actually, I can add an extra loop just going down, because all of these areas have these radius happening. So something like this is fine, and I'll do that down here. And you know, right now these surfaces have ingons, and we don't want that, but we'll add in some loops in a second. All right, just kind of pulling this over a little bit, and just something to make it, you know, get that curve happening so it's not just a sharp edge. And do the same thing here, and it'll all make sense in a minute. If you're just kind of wondering why is he doing that. Just kind of get rid of this piece here. All right, good stuff. Now we're gonna get rid of this last one and then start putting in some extra edge loops. So using the quad draw, I'm gonna hold control and just plop this guy right in here. And that will be good anyway, because it's gonna support this over here, this because this is a pretty big curve happening. And for here, we'll just go ahead and manually put those in, but just right here, I'm just kind of looking where we can have this extra point meet. Something like that. This. Like that. Cool. So now I get my cut tool. I'm going to go like this. We could go, let me think about this for a second. It is creating a triangle there, but I don't really think it's going to be a big deal, to be honest. So I'm not going to worry about it. All right, just about done with this piece, and then we can extrude it out. Nice. All right, so I'm gonna take this surface and just kind of bring it over a little bit. If I can grab it. There we go. All right, good. Now we're gonna extrude this and give it some thickness. But before we do that, we're gonna UV map it. Because right now it's perfect for UV mapping. It's just this flat piece. So move these few points. That. Cool. All right, one more thing. Nice. So bring up the UV editor. Go to my handy camera. All right, camera based. Press F to frame it up. And so there we go. Now we can select that patch and then unfold it and then pack it. And I'm gonna use my rotate tool to just kind of make it a little bit better. Cool. So now when I'm going to save real quick. So now when I extrude this thing, it's going to give me thickness, but it's going to keep this patch separate from the new thickness piece. And you'll see in a second. So I'm going to extrude out. I'm just kind of eyeballing it really right now. Not too worried about that, how thick it's going to be yet. It's something like that should be good. Okay, cool. So now this is just got, you know, it's overlapping UVs and it's not good. So I'm going to select this patch and I'm going to move it. So now you can see I've got this patch and this patch, but there's edges around this patch that you don't see, that because you're seeing the edges directly over itself. So if I was to unfold this, you can usually see there's an extra edge, or maybe it's in this one. Yeah, it's this one actually. Okay. See how there's an extra edge right here? So we want to separate that, and while keeping these nice UVs. And these UVs are great actually, so I probably just keep them the way they are in the end too. I'll just arrange them different. So you can also use the UVs to help you out here. Like I can select this edge, and now I can separate this whole thing. So I'm gonna select that edge with the UVs, and I'm gonna detach the vertices, and then I'm gonna separate them. So now it's just only this piece is by itself. And oops, I need to reverse this. I need to reverse this because it's black right now. So to mesh, display, and reverse. There we go. Same thing here. Okay. So now I think it was this one has the extra thing on there. Yeah. Okay, but we want to separate that. So I'm going to select that edge. I'm going to detach it. So now it's just this stuff. And there's this, and then there's the other piece that's not shown right now. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to flip the patch like that. So now it's facing the normal is facing the proper direction. And then we're going to make sure this is snapped to the belt area. So we're going to go like this, select everything, and then I'm going to hit shift less than arrow. I still have live mode on the belt, and then I'm going to snap it just like that. So now it's all snapped and everything's good. That's directly on the back of the belt. So now what we want to do is work on this piece, because there's not really, you can see this is like paper thin in this angle. You can't even see it because you're looking right at it. So we need to UV map this part. And for this, I think I'm just gonna do a camera at first. Get this, and then I'm going to trying to think about the areas that are least seen. But in this case, I think this is going to be behind, and this is going to be behind areas that are hidden. So I'm going to take that in here and go to my editor here, go to cut right there. So now these are two separate pieces. If I unfold them, you get that. All right, so those are pretty messy. And actually, a tool that I like to use is called Rism UV, and it will fix these. You can try to straighten the shells here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But Rism UV works great, and we'll fix that. But right now, I'm just gonna leave these aside. I've got this, and show last hidden, and this. So everything is that. So now what we need to do is make sure this is snapped to the belt. So I'm gonna give it one edge loop right here. And it actually might be easier to go into quad draw mode here. And it should snap right into place like that. See that? Cool. So I'm going to select all those pieces now and hide unselected. Oops, I didn't get that last piece back here. There we go. And I'm going to grab all the pieces and I'm going to combine them, and then I'm going to select the vertices and merge the verts. And now you can see it's kind of faceted, so I'm going to go here and go to, well, it's up here under mesh display, soften edge. So that will soften your normals. So it looks okay. And then we can test this piece now in Marmoset to make sure that, you know, the small details are coming through too. So let's bring this into Marmoset now. But before that, let me just pack the UVs. So I'm not really gonna do anything crazy here. I'm just gonna throw these in here. I'm not too worried about these side pieces. So I'm making them way smaller than the textile density of these. Later, I'll come and make these straight pieces. But for right now, I just want to get in Marmoset. And let me make sure that this is unfolded properly, and this one is too. Okay, cool. Good stuff. So now let's bring this, let's get the high res and bring this into Marmoset. So show last hidden, hide that one, and take these high res pieces and then select this piece, and oh, actually I'm gonna merge them because I want this all to go into Marmoset as one piece. And I'm just gonna give it a Lambert for right now. And now I'm going to export this out to Marmoset. So just 1 second. Just going to get this low one in there. Cool. Now pull up Marmoset here. All right, so here is the belt, and I'm going to throw on this default material. This is the low res showing up. And right now it's got the old projection of the piece we just did, so just ignore that. But everything is set up for me to basically just press bake. I've got the normal map, so fingers crossed, and there we go. Just like that. And you know, this little thing here is actually part of the high res, and it's some stretching that's happening, but honestly I kind of don't mind it. But we've got this detail here which came out great. If I move the light, you can see that everything seems to be projected just fine. Cool stuff. Now I just have that one other side of the belt, and I believe that will be it for modeling, which is amazing. And they can start doing UV mapping. So I'm going to go back to Maya. Second. All right, back in Maya. I'm going to select everything and then show all. Take this piece. And I want to see what the material is on this. It's Blinn 11. So I'm going to select all those faces and just assign it Blinn 11. And that's just the low res right there. So I'm going to assign that. Remember, we made a material already called retopoed for anything that's been retopoed. Sometimes it's a tongue twister. So that's good. Put that in the retopoed layer. And just for the sake of taking a look at it, and making sure everything else is where it should be. I think this is, yeah, this is the surface. Kind of cleaning things up now. Let's take a look at low res. So look at that beautiful belt. Perfect. Oh yeah, there's these pieces too that have to be made. So after this other belt piece, then these pieces. And then I think that should be it. I did this knee piece and this one. Yeah. Rock on. So just get this other belt piece. So looks like this needs to be assigned. There we go. Uh-oh, he doesn't have any clothes. All right, now work on this piece over here. It's going to be pretty similar, a little simpler, I guess, because it's not, it doesn't have those extra pieces. I wish I could just mirror this over, but this is not a symmetrical piece. So, however, it may be symmetrical up to a certain point. So let me see if I can, anything I can reuse, I'll do it. Just want to maximize my time. So I'm going to take this belt. I'm going to take the pivot point and I'm going to zero, make sure everything's zero, and then I'm going to zero out the pivot point here, center it, and then reset that. Okay, good. Everything's reset. So then I'm going to press D to move my pivot point, and then just, because you can see this is the X axis, this is the Y and the Z. So I'm going to move this. I just need it to be mirrored in the X. So I'm just going to move the pivot to 0 and hit enter. So now if I press Command D to duplicate that surface and then go to scale it in X by -1, we get that. We might be able to use some of that. I might be able to at least use the front part and then build the back, which is still a lot faster. So let's take a look. Yeah, so some of it is working. Yeah, it's not totally working, but some of it's working. So that's great though. I mean, I think from here, I'm just gonna take all that out of there. And then, you know, there'll be some pushing and pulling of verts, but I think for the most part, I should be able to snap this thing. There we go. Nice. So let's just make sure the points are where they need to be. And they're not. And it kind of almost looks like this surface is backwards. No, it's not. Okay. All right. So I need to just move these edges. I'm going to show the last and turn off wireframe. Press B on my keyboard. Just going to move these things over. Save some time. Cool. That one's a little bit too much. Nice. Good stuff. Okay, so this side, and I think it's pretty much, well, maybe up here too, but pretty much there. Right here. But I'd say that's pretty good and overall, you know. Let's pick some of that. Cool. All right. I'm just gonna do a little fine tuning. Just a tad. And I think it's pretty much ready to extrude. I mean, that saves so much time. So go to extrude and just bring it on out. Like that. It's the same process. But this time we saved a ton of time. All right, and then go to reverse this thing, like that, and I mean, I don't really need to show just yet. UV editor, I can select the edge going around, and then I'm going to detach it, and I'm going to do the same thing with this edge, detach it. And I hit G on my keyboard. You can't see, but so now these are separate, and I'm going to select all the vertices and shift and less than sign on the keyboard at once, and then I'm going to make sure to press D and grab one of these surfaces and just snap them like that. I can see like right up here is just too much. Might need to be smoothed out a little bit. But that's why we separated this thing, because now if I go to quad draw, let's see here, what's this thing? I wonder if this thing is not show less hidden, quad draw, there we go. Okay, so now if I go to quad draw, because we separated that, these edges should stay where they need to, but I'll be able to smooth this out like that, get more room. But I just want to be kind of gentle with it. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to just bring it down like this. I'm trying to keep an edge a little bit. So you can go to the, if you're trying to, I think you can go, maybe to mesh. You can go to mesh tools and then sculpting tools, and then where is it? There's like a smooth tool right here. You can use this too, and you can, with this, you can dictate how much strength you want. So, you know, if you wanted to, so here's my brush. And so I could say how much strength I want, not very much. And you can see it's barely affecting it. But I think for this, I'm just gonna use quad draw. Just kind of very gently go through here. Oops, not too much. That looks pretty good. Clean up some things. See, I just moved that edge, which is kind of a no-no, because now it's not gonna merge properly with the thing we disconnected, but I'll show you how to fix that. All right, so now that's all good. And if I show the, well, I think I have to, let's see here. There it is. Like if I try to merge these, it'll probably give an error, like one of these vertices. 1 second, let me grab this piece here. Show less hidden, snap that into place. All right, now let's go to the UVs before I forget. Take care of that. All right, good. So I'm gonna use my camera based and then just take these points here. I'm holding shift and cut, and then I'm going to unfold. I'm going to take this patch, go to modify and flip. All right, and then I'm going to take these and just move them on down. Good. All right, so the UVs are good. Now everything has to be joined back together, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get an error with one of the verts, but let's try it out. Okay, so you can kind of test to make sure if everything's been merged. So I'm just going to press 3, and there you go. See right here, this kind of wonkiness, and over here too. It's just didn't line properly, and something happened here actually. It looks like this needs to be fixed, which I probably will back up a step. Show less hidden and fix that first. So it's, you know, that's, thank God for undo. But you could see there was, like I mentioned, there's some issues with the vertices actually connecting. So I'll show you how to fix that too. But then it kind of you can do it a couple ways. So I'm going to combine all these things, and then I'm going to select all the vertices and hit merge vertices. And my threshold is at 0.01. So now I still have that gap, right? That's annoying, but what you can do is I can take this and just select that whole thing and blow it away, just delete it. And now I can take these, and I'll have to redo the UVs for this piece, but it's okay. It takes 2 seconds. So now I can put it all back together. And I think here too, right? Now for this, like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe down there too. So I'm just for safe keeping, I'm gonna delete that. Do the same thing. There we go. And then I'm gonna soften the normals. But now I need to go back to the UVs, and this is the kind of push and pull stuff that you deal with all the time. And right now it's a big hot mess, and we did all that work for the UVs. So it's like, well, okay, now I have to project again, camera, all this stuff. Well, no, take just what you want. And in this case, we can just select these rows here like that. So I've just got those selected. I'm going to hit camera view. And now I've retained those patches here. So I still have my patches. I'll have to flip them, yeah, but it saves work. So, but now this part, yeah, I do need to go over here and select that edge, which is right here, and cut it. And then we're gonna grab this one, do the same thing. And where it is here, right there, and cut. Cool. So now I'm just gonna unfold that, and with these two patches selected, because if I was to just do this without every, you know, it may not work, and sometimes it does, but I think that's based on my settings. But you need to select the pieces you want to lay out. So these two, and then I'm going to hit on my keyboard R for scaling, and then, you know, W is move on the keyboard, E is rotate, R is scale. Those are your keys I use all the time. In fact, I don't even remember them a lot of times because it's just built in my brain. All right, I know, looks like a fish there. All right, good stuff. I'm gonna, sometimes too you want to unlock, sometimes there'll be this weird artifacting on things, and you'll like get these black spots, and you don't know why it's happening, and so you may have to unlock the normals, like for whatever reason they've got locked, and you can get that by going to mesh display and unlock normals. And I always just unlock the normals even if I don't see a problem, and then I soften them. Or like if it needs to be hardened, then I harden it, but if it needs to be softened, then I soften it. In this case, soften, unlock. So I have a hotkey for that, which is somewhere up here. Soften normals and unlock. So this thing is good to go. If I show that, there we go. Cool stuff. Now I'm going to export this to Marmoset. I'm pretty sure it's going to be just fine, but you know, should check it anyway. And so we'll just go into Marmoset in a second here. And what you'll probably see in a second, as I'm exporting this out, you may see, you know, something happen on the screen with Marmoset. And I'm basically just replacing, I have two assets, one named asset low, one named asset high. And I'm just replacing those. And that way I don't have to keep renaming things and creating a whole bunch of stuff on my desktop. So now I'm going to export the low, and you'll see it in Marmoset, it will change a little bit because the UVs are different. So in a second you should see it. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so now you can see that it's just really, there's not much happening here, but I'm going to still bake it just to make sure we're good. So I'm going to put the default material on there, and you can see that it's taking the old belt piece, and I'm going to bake. And just as we expected, everything's just fine. And it's a simple, you know, simple looking piece, but it is kind of complicated to build. But, you know, I know that that one's good, and I'm going to jump back to Maya. So we turn off Marmoset. There we go. So now, we hide this stuff. Put this where it should be. Good, cool. All right, and show less hidden. Good stuff. Now, really, it's just these little brackets, which honestly, I've kind of been not wanting to do them, but I think it'll be easy enough, I guess. So we got this little screw here. Probably not gonna do much with that, but it does come out a little bit. I guess we'll see. So I'll do just one right now, and you know, see if I can reuse what I retopo this one. Sometimes sometimes what I do is like I just replace this part completely, like, and you'll see that's probably what I'll end up doing, because there's no point in trying to retopo this whole thing and then try to retopo another one that's in a weird angle. So yeah, this might even be mirrored over. It kind of looks like it is. So if it is, then I'll be able to just mirror over the retopo. All right, let's get to the fun stuff here. For this, you know, I'm really tempted to just go in a side view with a curve and make it. But I'm just trying to think if there's an easier way or faster. I think that might be the easiest way and fastest. So I'm going to take this and just bring it down in orthographic. And, you know, I'm going to take, let's see something real quick here. Is there an edge in here? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Sometimes there's an edge that follows all the way down. And the unfortunate thing when you decimate something is you can't just select an edge and think it's going to go all the way down. It's been decimated and you can't do anything about it. So you have to, you know, use whatever tools you have to try to get the edges or create new topology. And like there is a tool I have here, the edge select tool, but it's not selecting the edges properly. So goes to doing with curves, and that's okay. Just no problem. So I'm just gonna start making some curves here. Like this. And go back a little bit. And you can go and move these, you know, once you place them. So it's not totally a big deal that if I don't get it in the right area. But I am going to try to be decently strategic about placing these. And I only am worried about one side because I'm just going to extrude this thing. So I just need one curve doing this main kind of, you can hear my dog Luigi in the background. He's like, yo, what are you doing? So this one curve coming around, just about done. And I'd say that's good. Just hit enter, turn on my CBs, just kind of see what's going on. You know, I'm just going to try to nudge some of these the closest I can get to there. The closer it is, like when you snap it, the better, because it will have less distance to try to figure out where it needs to snap to. But, you know, it's not the end of the world if it's not. You just move the vertice around in quad draw. All right, good stuff. And I'm not, and you notice I didn't go all the way down here, and that's because I want this to be, this is a, from this point, it's like a 90-degree turn there. So I'll just extrude that out. All right, so I've got my curve and I've got my piece. If I center that pivot on there, I can snap it. So I'm doing that by taking this. I've got it centered so it's totally in line with this curve. And then I'm gonna hit V on my keyboard. You can see it change when I hit V. So this is V held down. This is V let up. So circle, square. So I'm holding V and then I'm pushing to the left and it snaps. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna press Control D, and then I'm gonna snap it again. All right, so there we go. Now we have this perfect shape. I feel like this might actually, I was dreading this one the most, and I think it's kind of so far being the easiest. So I'm gonna go to Loft and go and reverse that. Oops, surface, reverse. And then I'm gonna go to Polygon NURBS to polygon. Go to general, quads, and then start thinking about, I could do fit, and it would fit the quads to how many, because I didn't rebuild those curves, and it's trying to fit to those quads. But I like to just give it, and actually you can go to CVs, that's what it is actually. CVs and quads, and you can see like it's, hide that. You can see it's perfectly aligned with those. I guess that's okay, but sometimes, you know, you can, you see you got some extra points like right here. Like this is great down here, but it's not totally equal. But if you go to general and quads, and then change the number there, see how it's equal? Like, yeah, you're getting a lot more geometry in there, but it is much more equal everywhere around, which is nice and clean. And you can kind of dictate how much, and I'm holding the middle mouse button and dragging, by the way. And so, but up here is not very good. So you could keep it like this and then add in more loops. But I think what's best for this particular thing is CVs and quads. And I'm going to hit OK. Just delete the history. And there we go. And this is great. Like you've got supporting edge, and then the actual rotation. And then here too, supporting, and then that center. So that's great. This one is not like totally where I want it, but that's okay. And then this, I'm not really sure we need that. So I will try to kind of take away the things we don't need. Let's show the last one there. I'm going to get rid of this NURB surface, just delete it. And then I'm going to delete these curves. Sometimes you may not want to delete the curves and you can just put them on a layer just in case you have to use them again. But I don't think I'm going to use them again, so I'm good. So we got this, and then we're going to show that piece again. And just kind of assess the situation. So I want to snap it on there. And just kind of thinking, yeah, I think it's fine. So I'm gonna make this thing live, and I'm not going to do the lesser than thing. I'm just gonna snap it and see what I get. Very gentle. There we go. And you kind of just, sometimes it moves the points where they shouldn't be, but I think it's okay. Let's turn on quad draw. See, like this one, I actually want it more over here, and then delete that one like that. And I don't know if I need this. I really think it's worth it. So I'm going to delete, that one might need it. Okay, fine, good enough. Then, I don't really know if I need these for right now. And so I'm going to hold tab and just select this, and it may go on the other side, but it's not good. And then just bring this down. Try to move these points as best as possible. And you know, this is not going to be showing back here really, so I'm not totally worried. But I do have to make it make sense, so I might have to bevel these. So what I'm going to do is take this down one and bring this in just a little bit like that. And then you got something like that, which works fine. And then let's take a look at the corners here. I think, you know, it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty soft. I'll do the same thing here too. So I'm going to delete this, and Then go ahead and hold tab and just bring this in just a little bit and bring that, that. I'm going to bring this up so it's just like this really tight corner there. All right, good stuff. I think that's good. And this is kind of a tricky asset. I mean, a little bit, just because it's really tight quarters. I mean, you've got, you know, things happening here, and you'll see in Marvelous, like you might have to adjust the cage a little bit because it's trying to project into each other, but we'll see. And I don't know if I need all these here, so I might just get rid of that one. Maybe I do want it. I think that's good. Let's see if I get rid of this one. It's okay. Yeah, that's good. It's not totally perfect, and you know, that's okay. Doesn't have to be. So I think that's good. Now, same thing with this. I'm going to do the UVs first on this. I'm kind of tempted to give it one more loop, or maybe even two more, like this. Kind of helps support it a little bit. I don't really know if I need to, but I'm gonna. So you can do something that's I haven't really talked about, is like, you know, you see me entering these quad draws and they're just kind of wherever, but if you want to get nice and equal distribution, you can go to your insert edge loop tool, and then we'll go Control A to get to my channel box. And when I enter a point in here, let me just clear my history out real quick. And I'm also, while I have the insert edge loop, I'm selecting multiple edge loops, and I'm keeping at one. So if I click right here, it's actually going to pop over to here in the center. It's going to go exactly center of this. So perfectly centered, which is great. Well, okay, that's cool. Well, I can enter 2 and I can get 2 or whatever number you want. But the cool thing is that that's kind of a dynamic number. So I can do 1 here and then come here to my input, and then right here you just need to make sure that multi is selected. It usually is when you do the insert edge loop. And then divisions, I can just hold middle mouse. I can change that number with the keyboard, or I can just select on the word divisions and then middle mouse and drag. So look at, I'm getting all these great, perfectly, you know, so that, you know, that's nice and clean right there. So is it totally necessary? Maybe not, but it does support the UVs. I think it'll be fine. I mean, if you're trying to do an optimized character, you're going to want to get rid of those. You're going to, you know, really try to narrow it down. But this is a you know, film production quality character that I'm trying to put into Unreal for a film, for a short. And so I want it to read well with the camera. So I'm adding a little bit more geometry, and you can always use nanite on things too. So we've got this. I've just used camera projection. I'm going to unfold it. It gives me this lovely patch. And then I'm going to just move it right there. All right, and then get rid of this. And then let's bring back the part, and it's right here. Go to extrude. Just kind of watch where it's extruding, make sure that it's going through enough. Somewhere right around there. Yeah. Okay. So now it's the same thing, you know, it's gonna make sure that we separate these. And you know, it's black, And not just, what this means is the normals are reversed and they should be flipped. Okay, so I got that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and select. So this is not allowing me to select an edge all the way through. It's just going to these points because the geometry is not as a termination here with a star happening. So that's okay, just hold shift and select the other edges. But this is where the UVs come in handy. Like sometimes when you just need to select everything but you can't just go around, you just go to the UVs and get your patch. And so let's see, this patch is the top, this patch is the bottom. So I can select the edge here, and now I've selected all that, and I can, instead of me selecting here, and it only terminates there. So let's do it here and detach. So now these are two separate pieces. And this one, it's a little bit more tricky because it's sitting on top of itself, but if you go like this and you select the geometry and unfold it, and and you have to make sure it's okay, you can unfold it, and you're going to get a little bit different UVs. But now that we did that, we can select in here, but it's still not gonna, but it's kind of easier to select. So that, and then cut. So we just separate this out, and then as far as where to cut this thing, and really, I don't even know that it's necessary that we separate this bottom piece. Frankly, for this piece, it might be fine to just separate it right down the center, which will help us in the long run. So I'm going to go like this. Let's close this for a second. All right. Getting some sort of error here. Great. Something went wrong with my... Okay. Now I'm getting some weird error right now, and sometimes this happens. I just cleared out my history, and I'm still getting this. See this like weird error here, and I'm not able to right click and select vertices. I might be able to separate this thing, but no, it's not even separating. So there's something wrong with this. Like, and if you look in the outliner, there's some weird things happening here. Like there's a colon and there's this bracket here. Maybe going into the namespaces will help this. So if I go to namespace and to get to the namespace editor, you go to Windows. I think where is it? I think it actually is general editors. Yeah, so general editors, namespace editor. Now it's a lot of work to go through there to get this, so I just have a shortcut on my shelf. So I'm going to take this. So what it does is it creates these additional names under a hierarchy. There's the root to an asset, and then there's sometimes there's these hierarchy naming conventions, and it protects the naming of this original asset, and it's fairly annoying, but you have to, in order for you to import and export things or sometimes combine, like it messes with the naming namespace. So I'm just going to select this one here and delete it and see if that corrects it, and it didn't. Okay, so in this case, when I get something like this and it's just not working for me, I might just export it out. So I'm going to export this out because it just did all that work, right? I mean, there is the case of possibly doing control undo, but it could crash Maya. But I'm going to try it. Okay, that actually did work. And I'm not sure why, but what I'm going to do is, you can see it's in a group right here, and there's a transform on there. I'm going to take this, delete that history, and then I'm going to take these and take them out of the group by hitting Shift P. And then hopefully when I combine these now, it won't give me that error. Okay, I don't think it did. There we go. So that's one way to fix it. Another way, if that ever happens to you, and it does happen sometimes, is to export it out and export it back in. And if that doesn't work, export it out and then import it into something like ZBrush or another application, export it out of there, and that may fix it. But yeah, if you can undo it, that's also a good option. So what I want to do is insert an edge loop on the side. And instead of creating separate UV patches like these, like 1, 2, and 3, I'm just going to create 2. So I'm going to put an edge loop there, and we've got that. And then I'm going to select these, the edge that I just created, and detach it there. All right. So now I'm going to smooth the normals, or soften the normals, unlock them. I think that's going to be okay. And now let's go to the UVs, and all I'm going to do is just reproject camera and cut it there, and then I have these 2 patches right there. I'm getting this kind of weird thing happening. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's like this extra thing here. And I think that's just because it wasn't merged properly. So these kinds of like going back and forth situations happens all the time. And so it is a pain in the booty. So all I've done is tried to merge things together again. Okay, and so I've double clicked and those circled around. That means that there's no more holes. And I'm just going to deselect that, and hit bridge. All right, 3rd time's the charm, hopefully. Sure. Oh, do we have a problem here too? No. Okay, good. So I think we're good. I always use this on the keyboard. You press 3 to do a smooth, and just test it out. Like if you have any errors, you can see it with the smooth preview. So I'm gonna take that and project. Take this edge, cut. Take these 2 and unfold and pack. And I'm not totally, I'm just gonna leave them there. And let's bring back the high res, just right here. Get rid of this stuff. Didn't get it, okay. All right, so there's this, and I don't know, I may need to just kind of build this in real quick, which is not a big deal. It may project okay, but look where it's placed. It's like right in this converging. It's like a perfect spot to build in some extrusion. So what I'm gonna do is just build it in. Start. You can just create some of these points here. That. Trying to. All right. And it doesn't need to be insanely perfect or anything, just enough to make a point. Make a point that there's something extruding out. All right. So we have this. It's kind of messy. I'm not too worried about it. But I don't want to delete that. I'm going to take that, fill it, extrude this out. Show less hidden. Yeah, right about there. Something like that. And then I'll just make this thing live real quick. And that's okay actually if it's kind of going through there, but I am going to keep it a little bit higher than that. There we go. Cool. Now just, you know, make sure it's, let's back that up. There we go. Good stuff. Now, need to focus on this stuff here. So I'm going to take these polygons I've selected. I'm just going to do camera based. And then, let's see here. It's this one and that one. And I'm just going to select them both. Actually, this would be better. Camera based and then unfold. That's better, yeah. And then that, so we're good. And then as far as, I'm gonna just kind of bring this point out a little bit. And then I just need to smooth it, unlock the normals. I got that. See that? Cool. All right, let's bring this into Marmoset. So I'm constantly like bringing these things and testing them as I make them. All right, so I'm going to export this out, bring it into Marmoset. Just 1 second. Asset high, and then show last hidden. And then asset low. There we go. Good stuff. All right, so in Marmoset, move the light around a little bit. Got these extra materials up here. I'm just going to delete all that. All right. Now, let's just move the light a little bit, and then I'm holding shift and right mouse button, holding down shift and move the light around. So I'm just gonna hit bake, and hopefully it works, but I forgot to put this on there. Let me go back over here. Sure, we can really see when it here if it's working. Oh, I deleted the material, so I just need to make sure to assign that normal. There we go. There it is. Look at that beauty. And what's cool about this is that, you know, this is something I didn't show earlier, but I'll just show it now. I'm going to go over this in the next live stream, but basically we're going to bake out material. You can see here, it says material ID, and we'll bake a material ID, and what that does is it assigns different colors to different objects, and then it bakes that into, you know, your map. So in this case, let's take the low, take the low and hide it, take the high. We've got two pieces here actually. I'm not sure that I'll be able to because I combine them, but let's try it out. I'm going to make another material. I'm going to make it, I don't know, red or something. And And then I'm going to select it and put it on here. See how it just plopped right onto that 3D asset? And then this one, I'm going to make another material and I'm going to make it green. And then plop it on there. So now when I bake it, so I'll go ahead and go here, make sure material ID is selected, and then I'll go to the high and just hide that. Show the low. I'll go ahead and bake again. And it should pop out. Just 1 second here. Just gonna see if I can bring that up for you. I'm just gonna pull up Photoshop real quick. All right, so in Photoshop, you can see that this is, this is exactly the same as Maya. We look at Maya. Here's the UVs right here in U and V space, right? And that's the shape of the patches. And then we look at Photoshop, and look here. There's the two patches, but right in the middle is that screw. So we can use these as alpha maps in other programs such as Mari or Substance Painter for doing look dev. And instead of creating a lot of details on a mesh, use this method to basically just tape off the areas you do or don't want. So, and that, again, I'll go cover this when we start doing the look dev of the Stormtrooper, which will likely be next time I might start doing that. So let me just pull up Maya real quick here. Cool. All right, let me just make sure that I've got everything, and I need to see if this piece, I'm gonna, just for the sake of cleanliness, I'm going to bring up my point here to that, make sure it's at 0, and I'm going to just kind of clean up some things here. And by pressing Control A, you notice I'm like toggling these different panels on the right. It's pulling up my channel box here, and then the individual asset attributes. So what I want to do is mirror this piece over on the other side. So I'm going to just Control D to duplicate, and then scale in the X, and then clear out the scaling translation. So that's good. Now this piece is basically already, except for this one needs to get this one piece on that side. And I think that looks pretty symmetrical to me. So what I'm going to do is just mirror it over. And put that to 0. And Control D. And there we go. And let's bring it all back. Look at that, right over there. Perfect. Cool. So, we want to make sure that everything is in its proper layer. So one of the things, I think this was the last piece, so I can start, do a little bit more today, and I'll start showing you how I prepare this. Well, I need to do UVs, but I'll just show a quick demo of like what's going to happen next week. And let me just hide this stuff real quick. And then show all. Oops, did I? I put that one on the wrong one. Remove it. Oh, it's probably in a layer. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Put that on the high level. And then this one goes back to its home. And we're good. So all of these need to be, they need thickness. That's one thing that's going to happen. I just remembered that these all need thickness. Providing thickness and also, you know, trying to watch poly count is kind of a balancing act. So something, I'm just trying to think what's the best way to do this, because you might, you know, in Unreal Engine you can, which is great, you can make a two-sided material, and you can give, you know, this piece, what if it's at this angle and you see inside, it will still look like the proper material, instead of just, you know, like what happens in Marmoset, like when you see an asset, well, this one is actually watertight, but oftentimes what happens is, like, if it doesn't have a side, it just shows up as nothing. It's just like transparent. So, but you can do a two-sided material in Unreal, which is great, but you don't want it to look paper thin. Like right here, it looks paper thin. So you can start thinking about that. And I think I'll just start blowing away some of these with the UVs, and just a little bit today, and I'm a little over 2 hours, but that's fine. So I'm gonna take this piece, and you know, ideally, you know, if geometry wasn't a problem, you could just take it and extrude it out like this. I mean, it's not only geometry, it's UV space too. So bring back the character. Like, you can see it from this angle. You can see it a little bit from this angle, but nobody's really going to be from those angles. So you can kind of find a happy medium. But one thing I want to establish firsthand, like right away, is the thickness that these panels will be. I want to establish that right away and make everything else going forward the same thickness. So right now I've extruded it out negative 0.632. I'll probably round that off. If I was going to, I would just make it 6. But I think that's too much. So let me just take those. I think it needs to be less. And this is where looking at the reference is important. Just kind of take a look at that. It's pretty thin actually in the reference, I think. It's pretty thin. So I'll go to my extrude here, and I'll just play with that number real quick. Maybe make it 0.2. That's too little. So maybe 0.4. That's probably good, actually. I think that's good. And you add a little bit of a radius on that, and it'll be great. So, but I need to, one of the things you want to try to do early is, I would probably, before I extrude it, do the UV for this piece. So take this, and the good thing is, like, I don't need to do all this stuff over here. I don't need to do half the body. I just need to do 1/2 because it's symmetrical. So take this piece, camera based, and, you know, think about where it would be okay. And I think just in the back will be fine. Just cut it. I don't want too many seams on this thing. I'm just going to try one seam, see where we go with that. Unfold it. That's fine. I think that's great, actually. All right. And another thing to pay attention to is keeping these all at the same textile density. So I'm going to go ahead and project camera based. Go ahead and cut it and cut and then unfold. All right, so this piece is a little, I'm not sure I want to cut it right there because this is actually right where one of the, you can kind of see it like these two lines right here. I might actually want to cut like right at this line. And then I'm going to take this line and I'm going to sew it back together and then unfold it. All right. So now if I pack these two pieces, they will be the correct, they'll be the correct textile density. And textile density is basically the scale of the texture that will be showing to viewers. So I think the easiest way to show this is just with a checker material. So I'll go to material and I'll just use Lambert. And then I'll go to the color input just so we can see, and I'll choose checker. And then I'm going to go to the checker material and I'm going to hit the 2D, the place 2D texture. And I'm going to change this to repeat to something like 50. So watch, I'm going to apply this to both. Let me see what material this is. It's called Lambert 23. I'm just going to call it checker. And I'm going to apply it to here as well. I'll just apply it to some of these things. Now look at the difference with some of these assets, right? Like these two look fine. They look like they're the same. They're in the same club, you know? But this one and this one, they're totally off. Like this one is way smaller checkers and this one is way big. And this is what textile density is. It's basically telling the UV space needs to be the same for every single asset. For every single piece of geometry in here, they all need to be in the same club. And right now, just these two guys are in the same club. There's a tool in Maya to do that. And if you go to your UV editor, and I'm just going to turn off the show checkerboard there. And I'm going to take this piece and first of all, I'll take this piece here, the thigh piece. And then you go under transform. Under transform is an area right over here. It says textile density, pixel/units. And right now it says 32, but I haven't fetched the textile density on this. So I'm going to get it. And now it says, okay, you fetch the textile density. It's at 6.6767. And well, what's this one? 26.15, you know, you can see what it is. So I need to tell these people, you know, these pieces of geometry to all be in the same thing. So you can actually do that. You say, okay, well, get this one. I want it to be this one. And I want everybody else to be in the same thing. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to say set. So now look what happened. So undo that, see all these things, and boom, they're all now in the same club. that. Same thing with this, right? Set. But some of these may not have the proper, like this doesn't have proper UVs on it. So it's giving some sort of weird things happening. But this one does have proper, but see what happened? It like totally made everything go everywhere. And you have to reorganize it, lay it out. And now that messed it up again. So I'm going to go back up and set. And you can actually go through and press shift and click and hit layout. And then you can tell the layout options, I don't want you to scale it. I don't want you to scale it any of the patches. I just want you to pack it. And so I think it's right here. You can turn that off and hit apply. No, it's not that actually. It is. Let's see, where is it? Oh, here we go. I think that's it. Well, no, that wasn't it. Scale mode, distribute. Just try. Actually, sometimes the legacy is easier to use. But I'm going to go back to the 3D. Should actually... There we go. Okay, so the shell pre-scaling and the scale mode both are off. So it preserved the texel density, but packed them. And, you know, if I have multiple pieces selected like this, oops, well, not the character, but I have all these pieces selected, and then I hit layout, it maintains that texel density. But the problem is what happens is if you have too many pieces, and you can see it's really filling up, it starts to not go within the 0 to 1 space of U and V. And so then you have to start figuring out, okay, well, do I want to do a UDIM scenario, or do I just want to have different do I want to have different UV patches, or do I want to adjust the scale of that texel density so everything fits in there? Now, in Unreal, it's capable of doing what's called UDIM texel UVs, and essentially, you can see all these squares here, and it goes like this. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and it continues on until it gets to the end here. I think that's 10. And then I think it starts back up over here. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and etc. So what you can do is you can maximize the scale of each patch. Let's say I only want the thigh. Like you can see, this is a great example. So the metahuman, the way that the guys at Blizzard did this, they did it on a UDIM scenario. So they put the face in the main 0 to 1, and then they put the rest of the body at, in the UV2. And if we do, if we just put the checker on this real quick. Let's go here, put checker on there. You'll notice that the guys at Blizzard, they kind of have some stretching going on here. But the thing is that you can have sometimes different texel densities. You just don't want to be in completely different planets, if you will. Like with the, these aren't like so huge that they, like a mole on his chest is going to look like a planet or something. It's all within the same range, and it's kind of tapering up, so it's blending in. So the way they did that is nice. They blended it in, and that's fine, because what they are saying here with this scenario is that they're saying that I want more resolution in his face than I want in his body. So the bigger the the texels, the bigger the checkers in this scenario, the less resolution it has. So, I mean, the face is a focal point, and so it makes sense that it has a lot of resolution there. And oftentimes the body is hidden. So, you know. All right, so with that in mind, you know, we want to kind of, usually the best method, and this is kind of, you have to wrap your head around this, but you want to take the biggest part out of whatever it is you're modeling. So if it's let's say it's the chest piece and it's really long and it takes up a huge section of the U and V space, then that will be your starting point. Everything else will be based off of that scale. And you want everything to be off that scale, and then you can, you know, scale everything down into one texel, you know, one basically texture patch. So it will all make sense later down the line, but if this is kind of hard to wrap your head around, it's okay. Just know that bigger, you know, in this case I'm just using a checker pattern, but you're getting less resolution with bigger checkers, and you're getting more resolution with smaller checkers in this scenario. All right, so that being said, I'm just going to go through and look at some of these and try to see what we have here. And it's pretty often that let me just get this piece here. All right. Yeah, it's pretty often that I just kind of jump around with doing these. So I'm trying to be somewhat strategic about where I'm putting this seam. So under the arm, and cut and unfold. And that's fine. And then same thing here. I'm gonna camera, and then select, cut tool, unfold. And I'm just gonna go down the line with some of these and get them flushed out. This one doesn't really need anything besides just unfold. So that's good. I think the helmet's probably one of the trickiest parts, but I think the easiest thing to do with this is you can kind of see that I already did it once and then it kind of got messed up, but you see there's a seam going down here. So the easiest thing is just to create one seam for a face. And if there's any kind of, you know, mouth or whatever, then you can create like a cut where the eyes and mouth are. But in this case, I don't think there is. So let's take a look. I need to create a seam down the center here. What's my center line? There. Okay. And then I'm going to deselect all that stuff. Should be deselected. And I'm going to hit cut. And I might just extend this just a hair out, like right there, and cut. And then I'm going to unfold. So now you get this. And I think I have some unwanted cutting down here. Yeah, I don't... Well, I think it will be fine right there. But I'm just gonna sew it back together. And then unfold again. Cool. So now if you pack that, it will, well, right now it's not scaling because I messed with all this stuff. So if I go to reset, it should bring everything, yeah, it scales it right. Okay. So I got that. Should last. And then there's like all these little pieces. Again, I only need to do 50% of this, so that's good. And I'm gonna do camera based. just try to cut some of this stuff like that. That edge. And so it's kind of not like, you kind of have to go off course here. So I'm going to go like this. And I could just do this and grab this edge. I guess that's fine. And see how it stops right there? So I'm just going to grab that edge. Make sure it's going all the way around and cut. And then unfold and layout. Cool. And show all. And then this eyepiece is really simple. Just select it, camera, unfold. This piece, pretty simple, I guess. That little, let's see here. I think for this one, you know, I'm tempted to just do this and just cut it right down the middle. But let me show all again. Yeah, I think that'll be great, because see how this is the strategic thing you want to try to do, is like hiding anywhere there's a seam. So that's perfect. This area is going to be covering it all up. So that's perfect. I'll cut it there. Go like this. And then just unfold. Like that. And go all. And these guys are just these small pieces here. So again, I'm only going to do half of it. Sometimes I use automatic, and it will give me some decent starting points. But yeah, it's not amazing. For this, I think it'll be okay if I just make sure some of this stuff. Yeah. I think I'll just do it like this. So I'm just going to redo. Sometimes that automatic stuff works, but yeah. Not every time. So I'm going to select those. And it's kind of doing this weird thing. So actually, better yet, because again, we're not going to see this. Oops. See how it's like hidden back there? So I'm going to just go. I'm just going to go back here, and I don't even know if I need these pieces of geometry. So what I'm going to do is just put another edge loop in there, just so I kind of keep that, and then delete this, and that, and then delete that. Oh. So this particular mesh I made with a tool called Quad Remesher, and sometimes it doesn't work super great. You can see right here. But essentially, I'm trying to get rid of this back part because I just don't need it. I have this kind of annoying thing that is, it's kind of an infinity loop, but there's a fix to that. And you can take this and take your multi-cut tool and just go like this. But I'm going to go back and do that again. Like that. And then take that edge loop and detach it. And then now I can just take that out. And it should just be fine in there. Let's see. Yeah, it's fine. And I'm going to do the same thing with this, because I don't want to spend the time trying to get that perfect since it's hidden. Detach. Separate. Get rid of it. And I'm just going back to make sure that, you know, nothing is showing. So I show all the parts again. And just get it right where I need it. Attach. Oh, not that part. Damn it. Cool. All right, and then let's see, working our way down there. 2 more little pieces here. And so I'm just hiding unselected. And then taking the edge and detaching. Good God. There we go. All right, this is the last piece. And this one, I'm just gonna go like this. And separate. Cool. Merge verts. All right. And now all of this stuff here should be ready. And yeah, there's nothing. So I'm going to combine them just so I can select all their vertices at once. And then select the vertices and just merge them. Make sure there's nothing wrong with that. And then I'm going to deselect, separate them, and I mean, these probably could just be done at one. I just actually keep them together and camera based and then unfold, and you get all these little guys. Hit, you know, that, and then separate. Take these 4 guys. Get my pivot going. Reset it. Oops. There we go. Reset. And then I'm going to put that to 0 in the X. And then just do Command D and go back to my channel box, and then -1. Bring all that stuff together. Just make it one part because it's all the same. If you look at the reference here, there are these black or gray kind of areas there. Yeah. So take that, clear the history, and then just take all these things, these patches, and just, you know, you've got some backwards, so you need to flip these. Select them, modify, and flip, and then layout. All right, good stuff. So that's done. That's done. Camera based. Let's take a look at this piece. I think for this one, I think I'll just take one of the edge loops here. I mean, could do this and unfold it, but you know, it's gonna have a lot of tension right here. And if you show this, you can see the red is the most tense area. You can see right here, it's all that tension. That's gonna be like distorted. The texture is gonna be distorted because of all that tension. So, yeah, what we're gonna do is cut this right there. Go to cut. And then what's nice is, like, once you cut it, you can select the patch and drag it out of there. And then I want to get this edge down here. And if I select, then I'm selecting all this stuff over here. But I don't want to do that. I just want to select this right here. So you can go here and double click and it only selects that. So I'm going to cut and go unfold. And then here, I'm going to do the same thing. Cut. And I'll just find out where that is. It's right here. And cut. So now if we look at this thing and unfold it, we should see less tension. See like how it's white now? No tension. It's great. So we're just going to pack all that. All right. And then there's this little piece here too, but it still needs to be there because it's going to be the grill. These little kind of alpha pieces. So I'm just going to unfold layout. It's good. Let's see, helmet. It's pretty much done. And there's this guy. Gonna do camera. Gonna do unfold. And that's done. This one. Camera. Unfold. Same thing here. Pretty straightforward stuff. I'm not like doing anything crazy here. I mean, honestly, I could probably just select all these pieces at once and do camera. I mean, I do that a lot of times. I just take this and camera and then do everything at once. But I've already done a bunch of pieces. I'm just demoing this. So you can select everything, camera, and just get that ready. And then each piece you can go through and, you know, tell it where it needs to go. But let's just double check these. This piece needs to be done here. Oh no, it is done. Okay, good. Sometimes I just do those like right after I make the pieces. So that's cool. Good. This piece, nope, needs to be done. Just about done with UVs. Well, the first pass at UVs at least. Okay. I think that is, oh yeah, this piece, that's done. This one right there. All right, so this one needs to be, look how small that, and we're just gonna, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Because see how this, I mean, this front face is the piece that's showing, so I'm gonna try to get this edge here. And I know there's gonna be a little tension because I'm not cutting it in half, but I'm gonna cut it there and then unfold it. It's still good. It's still fine. All right, so I think that's, oh, in this piece here. Yeah, okay. And then this is just some kind of hidden neck thing here. Cut. And then unfold. Okay. I think that's it. So what I'm going to do is delete, 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 delete. And, oh, these guys. That one's done. That's good. Right. These should be done. Just do this one. Now there is a way to, you know, let's say you did a lot of work on UV mapping something and then you found out like there's another mirrored piece, or maybe it's not even mirrored, but it's like another piece, like another screw that has to be UV mapped. It's the same geometry. You can actually transfer that over using the transfer tool. So just keep that in mind. There's a little bit of tension here, but I'm just going to keep it like that. I know that this part is not going to be showing a lot of detail, so I'm not too worried about it. I think I'll be fine. So I'll just show you real quick here, this transfer technique. All right. Okay, so got this, you got this. They're both the same geometry. Go to Mesh, Transfer Attributes, get the transfer tool. I want to transfer the UVs, which are here, onto here. And like if we look at this, this doesn't have any UVs. So I'm going to create some. And then I'm going to select this, then shift select this, holding shift. And then I'm going to go here. And I'm going to say it's the same topology. And leave this all to default. And just cross your fingers. And there you go. But you can see that sometimes this happens. What happened is everything, like if you look at this one, look at that, look at this. What is happening? But you can see here these bigger edges, and what's happened is this has been separated into a million pieces. So if these are all little shells that are just, but here this is just one shell. So we need to fix that. So I'm going to take all these pieces. I'm going to select the UVs. I'm going to go to cut and sew and merge. And hopefully that works. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't look like it did either. Okay, another thing I'm going to try. I'm going to clear the history, camera based. Select this, select that, component. See if that works. No, doesn't want to. Let's see if I can fix that. Let me see if this works. Nope. Well, sometimes this does work, but it's not working. I'm just hitting the stitch button to see if that does anything, and it's just tweaking out. So I'm going to cancel that. So in this case, it's not a big deal, but this typically that does work actually. So make sure for this, it's so easy to do. You could just redo it. But in this case, since it's symmetrical, all I need to do is do this, move the, and duplicate it and mirror it. And now I have both of them. But oftentimes that transfers method works great. So sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So I'm going to take these, and these are overlapping. See how they're kind of magenta? It means that they're overlapping, and that this is because I mirrored it, it flipped the UVs the wrong direction. So we need to correct that. Take those and go to modify, flip. And then there we go. All right, and then this last piece, I'm just gonna cut this like in the very back so like nobody sees it. Let's go cut and then unfold. All right. Alrighty. So now we have everything, I think. UV, let's just double check. No. Belts. Belt. Pretty sure. Yep. Okay. So now I'm going to just mirror the parts that need to be mirrored. And I'm just for the sake of it, I'm just going to put all this stuff at the same material. I can just hit G to repeat that. Alright, so I'm selecting all the pieces that need to be mirrored. I think that's it. And then I'm going to combine them. And then I'm going to move my pivot to 0. And then I'm going to Command D, -1. And then when I freeze the transformations, now these are all flipped, so I want to flip them over. All right, now with this character, I'm going to keep everything in one UV square. I'm going to just do this, have the character at a pretty high res, like 4K or 8K. So I'm going to take all this stuff, and you can separate it or keep it together, it doesn't matter. And make sure that I got, oh, this piece right here I don't think was mirrored over. So let's do that. Yeah. And I also, this piece I forgot too. So let's grab all 3 of these. And then watch the magic. And mirror those over. Freeze transformations. Flip. Alrighty. So now we've got all these things. They're done. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll find out if something is wonky in there, but all these pieces, and they're just, looks like a mess, but they've all been UV'd. So I'm just going to go to layout, and now it's saying, hey, you have some geometry that is, it's called manifold geometry. And that means that something, one piece of geometry that you have no clue to find is overlapping itself, and that there's a problem. So you can say, okay, we'll try to fix it, and then it will do its best. And then you can try to find it, but there's other ways to deal with that. Let's see here. Just 1 second, I'll make this a little bit bigger. All right. Now, you can try to go through and try to figure out where is the problem. And sometimes if you combine everything, if you can do that at least, sometimes it's too high poly to do that, and then you smooth it. See, it's saying, oh, this is pretty high poly. Are you sure you want to smooth it? And my computer can handle it, so I'm going to say yeah. So now you can kind of see, is there something funky happening somewhere? If so, where is it? I don't see anything, but it may pop up in Look Dev. There's another tool I mentioned earlier called Rism UV, and it can help you find these two. But for right now, okay, here we go. Got some, this might have been the problem here. Some of these pieces need to be flipped. So I'm flipping these, and let's see if there's anything else on here. Just kind of going through everything. All right, so right here I can see these like weird squares. This is probably where some of the damage happened, and I think I know what it was. It was maybe the ring that goes around the helmet. I feel like I didn't UV that. Yeah, maybe this part right here. So I'm gonna, and I could tell because there's like all these weird squares that are happening. And so I need to figure out why is that doing that. And this is part of 3D, a big part of it. So what I'm going to do is I can see like right there, those are red. And those are problems probably. So what I'm going to do is select all this stuff. And then I'm going to hold Control to deselect these other pieces. And now I have just those selected. And I'm going to go to camera based. Now see all those little things? They went away. And that was probably the problem. And then I'm going to unfold those. And now let's see if I select everything. Let's move this over here and here. Show all. All right. That. This. And then I'm going to pack again. I didn't get that error again. And looking down here, I do see another error on here. Where is that? Okay, so it's this piece right here. So that, see how it's all separated right there? That's also a problem area. And I think what happened was I forgot to mirror this piece. So yeah. So I'm gonna do that and then take this and duplicate it and then mirror it. Okay, so now I should be able to find that. But if I hit freeze transformations, I gotta flip it. Flip. You're basically trying to get all your UVs purple looking. You know, you don't want any red. And so I'm going to take all of them again now, and I'm going to lay them out. Okay, now I'm going to go through here and pay attention. I didn't get any errors. Everything looks okay. I'm just going quickly. Yeah, looks good. So now, if I assign this the checker, watch what happens. All the checkers are the right size, except for this guy who's a Lone Ranger. But let's see here. Him too. So now I know that the UVs are all in the right texel density. And all the textures will show up looking the correct scale. It doesn't really matter right now that this is kind of going at an angle. You do want to maybe think about that sometimes, but it's not a big deal right now. So that's where I'm going to leave you with. I'm going to leave, basically this thing is UV'd and ready for extruding thickness. And then after that will be look dev, which is texturing the model. So thank you again for joining me. And you know, if you weren't here earlier, I'm just gonna point this out again, that if you get a chance, definitely check out my ArtStation. We've got some really cool projects on there. Please consider following me and subscribing on both my ArtStation YouTube and even Twitch. Also, if you didn't get this earlier, I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Dallas. He was the lead artist on The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and Avatar. He's a rock star and his art is awesome. So he's a really nice person, and just want to mention his art to you guys. Check it out. Give him a follow too. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, and have a good night.